Hello folks, Andrew from Yellowhead Games here. Another kind of video. It's kind of, Wond'ring Aloud, kind of podcasty stuff. Sorry for the pops. If you hear pops, I ask you to apologize me. Now, this is a time-lapse basically going down there, and time to time I have this terrible idea on creating basically stuff myself. So I'm maybe doing a video about something and I realize that doesn't exist, or maybe exists, but I just don't know that exists. I force myself to ignore it, that it may exist, and this is the way I created an input map loader and saver. Basically, Godot engine don't have an input map loader or exporter. So basically, each time you start a new project, you need to create it from the beginning. And it's not that much waste of time, because basically you just go there and waste 5 minutes or 10 minutes. I don't know. Each one has its time sensation and its time conception. So I started creating this. Now it doesn't exist because I don't know why Godot engine developers didn't thought about this, but maybe it may come in future. And I started searching, because the best way you can make something is actually to copy from someone else, and that way you learn basically how to make that. And I started looking around, and I found someone that actually made something similar, but he claims to import basically input maps from Unity and so on. And I started with the idea to make it the easiest way for me, and the easiest way for me is actually to not go and learn a lot of stuff, and don't waste a lot of time. Now the time lapse here just took me something like 8-9 hours of work, so it wasn't that, it was quite expensive in terms of time, but it wasn't that cheap in terms of time. But I'm stupid and I kept going. Now, fact here is that I wanted to create this thing, and I learned how to dock stuff, and a few hours, maybe an hour or an hour and a half, I wasted just looking how to improve VS Code. Basically, I wanted to have readable code from Godot inside VS Code, and I definitely gave up on that, because I didn't want to waste more time. And I started by looking how to actually have and access the properties of Godot, and the easiest way to me looked that I can definitely act on editors settings, but it looks kind of buggy to me, this part here, because basically if you go under editor interface and all that stuff, project settings, somehow you have no ability in changing that by code, or at least I didn't find a way, so I kept looking for stuff basically. And I lost a lot of time, because before realizing that probably there's a bug or there's something lacking there, and going under GitHub or Reddit and stuff like that, you easily can find that people just asked the dev to implement a better way to access all this stuff. And you keep writing, testing, and here I'm trying again and again. But somehow I didn't have the conception how to interact with project settings at all. And that was kind of a waste of time, because in order to access to that, you need to write down project settings, you need to access these singletons from Godot. And a lot of trial and error basically went there. And that was because I needed basically to find a way to load stuff, to actually change stuff. And the best way that I thought was actually to go, and this is the wrong way basically, is the worst thing you can do. Go and manually change basically the project.godot. That's kind of the Godot skeleton of your project, and it's not the best way you can do to change stuff. You shouldn't touch that file there. But I do touch that with this plugin. That's why I keep make a lot of writings. Be aware here, be aware there, on the plugin page, because be aware, you can definitely damage your project. So don't do this if your project is in later stages. You can use this plugin just if this is not in later stages. So basically, don't do this. It's your choice if you want to risk everything. And basically here I'm trying to get shortcuts. Now, the point is this: you can change this file here by script, but the fact is that each time you change it and save it, Godot, the Godot engine, actually understands that, and he tries to reload everything. It makes you need to make an extra step, and I wanted to avoid that extra step basically. Now in Godot 3.4 and 3.5, basically you can reload the project, and under project you go under project and you can reload that. You can go there and you can basically decide even a shortcut for that. And the idea is, since there is no shortcut by default for this option, I thought I can go and change that shortcut and set that shortcut by code via plugin once that the user uploads this plugin, uses this plugin. I think that's quite quite a thing. I wish there was a way. So I put myself under all these get settings, project settings, to find a way. No way was found, actually. I have no idea how to do this, how to set that parameter there, that property, that shortcut. So definitely there are these values are stored somewhere, and I went to the Godot project 3, something like that. You can find it under your Steam page or your Godot folder, and going there you can actually find out all your shortcuts that you made for your project. But I think that changing that file by manually, let's say it this way, manually, but even by code, it may really damage the Godot engine itself. So I didn't want to go that way, and so I realized that I have no way to create a shortcut for the player and emulate that shortcut basically. So to reboot the file, to reboot the engine once the loading was done. And so happened that I just went with that in mind, with my broken heart, because I failed, and I went and I decided that, okay, that's fine, I'm going to let the player do that, the user do that extra step, and an extra step is not going to be that annoying, probably, as said, but I know that that's kind of a pain in the butt. So basically, a lot of things happen here, because now I open the project.godot and I try basically to, you know, to store data inside, you know? And I was not sure if I could store data right there, and I found out that basically the Godot project has a format, a syntax that is like an ini file from Windows, and that was quite interesting, because that way I can check if there's the section input, because if there is no input section, basically I can save that. I can save an empty file, and that was important actually, because this way I go and take that input section and I save that as just a file. I'm calling it with my own extension now, my inputs.input, and that way I can take that text file and just append it. I wish there was a way to append stuff here, and put it inside the project.godot. Now the fact here is that you can definitely take all the data, you can receive all this data from the configure file, no, but you have to format that, and I didn't want to format the data. I mean, I want easy stuff. I don't want to go all through all that process of formatting data, and that was something that basically came like that. Since I didn't want, I'm going to take the text, I'm going to find out when it starts and when it ends, and I'm going to export that text, and I'm going to put the text inside Godot. Now I learned that Godot file, basically the project.godot, once you put some sections inside, it takes it and it auto formats in the right position, basically. And that's quite important, because each time I loaded this file, basically I watched that there was a physics that was following that project. Now the fact is this: I don't know if future versions of Godot will have physics, or if you're going to use different stuff in a different way inside the project. I don't know how you set the project, basically your own project. I don't know if that would actually affect the position of each section inside the Godot file. So that was important for me to check out this array of sections, and find out which was the following one. If the input, I'm looking for the input section, basically, when saving, I mean this, and if there is another section that is following, I need to know, because that way I find the right dimension of this section, because I'm getting it as a text, so I don't want to format it. I get it as a text, store it like that, but I need to know exactly how long this thing is, the length of this big string, big chunk of text. And that was made by basically doing that, going and checking that kind of input section array, retrieving that. Now I was doing some tests again, because I wanted to make this work via script. Now I wanted that the whole project rebooted once you loaded the thing, but it didn't work. I mean, I'm not one that gives up so easily, so that's why I lost a lot of time on this stuff. The struggle is real here because time to time, you kind of say, I know nothing. I don't know what I'm doing. Why am I doing at all this thing? So basically, I made some text on watching if the input map basically saves in the right way. And probably it doesn't appear that much here in this section because it's kind of off screen, but it kind of was working. And here I just was trying to see if there are next section. There is a next section, and that way I was writing this function to find this next section. Now, as long as it works, here you can see down in the debugging output that it gives us some array with some data inside. And the next section of input actually is physics in this case, but I don't know how long this may be there. And since that we had that data, basically, I just started to work with the next section, basically, and I didn't want to retrieve that next section by understanding the right position in the array of my section, the input section, and adding basically one to that section and retrieving the new data. That was important, so this way we can basically decide, where to cut the text. And like you can see, there's a reload button, still there, but I don't want that. And here I was again trying if there is a way that I can get that that reloading shortcut working without the user knowing that thing. And no, that's not happening. I mean, if I gave up earlier on this thing, probably I would have saved a lot of time. And that's pretty sad. Pretty sad. But the results are coming, and you need to work your ass until everything works. But I gave up definitely right here, basically, that was not working for me, and that's fine. Now the plugin works actually, and it's okay. It can save and it can reload stuff. Actually, the version that I published for the first time on GitHub, it was not working at all, because it kind of didn't save or didn't load. I don't remember this, but it was struggling with finding the right data, basically, because a variable was written in the wrong way, something like that, basically. The find function, I think the find method wasn't working properly, so I had to change that, and I asked some help from people online as well, if there was a version where I could use to use my shortcut there. If I find a way, I definitely update this thing, but it was not, I didn't find a way at all. So, writing some info here, and how to use that. And here I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to show you how does this work at least, if it's working. I have a video that I posted on GitHub, these two videos on saving and loading. Now, the fact here is that if you want to load or save data, basically if you want to load an input map, I really highly suggest that you save your input map once you're done. Once you saved it, basically you just create a zip file with the plugin inside and the input map inside. So this way you can have it and you can load the plugin each time you want from the zip file, and it's ready to be used, because here the plugin just uses the add-on folder basically. But that's fine. And I'd say another thing here, the fact is that probably I'm going to update this as soon as I can, because obviously I'm a little bit busy. But once I was thinking to give the user more freedom on using maybe a list of inputs, choosing the name of the inputs of the input save, and not only that, but saving the files maybe under the user folder. It might be easier for the the user to access it and choose what it wants. Okay guys, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you learned something, or I was keeping you company. This was Wond'ring Aloud from Android Yellow Hat Games here. So see you soon. Subscribe, leave a like and comment down below, and keep deving games.